Good evening, everyone. Hello. John, let's go. Oliver Whitehouse. Hello, everyone. Can't wait for my Horus Heresy box to land tomorrow. Are you getting it tomorrow? Has there been a 2-week pre-order for that? Yeah, I know a few people are getting their boxes. I'm excited. Yelp 34 starts sooner. Technically, I'm starting soon because I wouldn't start till 7 o'clock usually. But here I am now. Danny P. Hola. From Mexico. Hello, Mexico. Mr. H. Hello. How's everyone doing? It's Sunday evening. And this time it's not absolutely boiling hot. The last stream I did, when I finished the stream, my laptop actually overheated. Because while it's set up like this, I couldn't plug the external fan on, so it overheated. But it shouldn't be a problem this time. John, tomorrow will be my last plastic of the year. Said no one ever. Are you what legions or legion are you painting your box? Hope everyone's been having a good couple of weeks since the last time I saw you. So we had some very exciting reveals last weekend. And I said Chaos Dwarfs. And I thought for a split second they had done it, but then they pulled the rug under from people's feet and revealed that it was for Age of Sigmar, which is quite funny. But I feel like they've designed that range so you could use it for the Chaos Dwarfs as well. Like, I don't really think there's anything missing. Mr. H, I've started collecting an old hammer, orc and goblin army inspired by your video. Love squigs, love trolls, love the gobbos. I've actually been thinking a lot about the next old world video that I want to do. I know I was working on the Chaos Warriors, but that didn't really pan out. So I shelved that. I wasn't feeling them. And I wasn't happy with how they were turning out. But I think the next video will be quite similar to the Night Goblin video, where I think I want to do a battalion box and get that painted up and done for Old World. Because there's two ways you can do it. You can have a look at the Old World range and like I did with the Night Goblins. But I had to do that. I had to do that with the Night Goblins because there isn't a range of Night Goblins fully for the Old World. Ideally I would do Orcs and Goblins, but I feel that's too close to the Night Goblin army I've done. So I'm thinking I could still do the Chaos Warriors, but do the old world versions of them. Or there's Empire or Khemri, I was thinking. I know there's Cathay, but I think Cathay's quite an epic, quite a big challenge, especially to paint a battalion box. But I'll talk about that later. We can sort of discuss what people would want to see anyway. John, going to paint 1K Suns and not sure on the other. You could paint that whole box one Legion. I know that's what people did with the previous boxes. I think those boxes are designed so that you could either do 2 Legions or just 1 big Legion. It's meant to be an army in a box, really. Jane Smith, hello from Milwaukee. Thanks for all the videos. You're very welcome. I'm not sure what WI is. I don't really know the states very well. You'll have to let me know. I'm guessing what states begin? You've got Washington, I suppose, or Wisconsin, or is that? I can already tell. Embarrassing myself. Not very good at GeoGuessr. What do you think about the Wood Elves? The Wood Elves I do like as well. But I feel like there's other armies that kind of I kind of like the look of first. Ex Matteo, since you're reading currently, I just want to say thank you for all you've done and for all your videos as well. You've really helped me along in the beginning of this new hobby journey of mine. Welcome to the hobby. It's why I do the videos, to help people get involved. But thank you, it really means a lot. Matteo, also I can't find the Discord to show off my minis. So the Discord, it's a perk for YouTube members and Patreon. But it's a perk that you can get for like the lowest sort of level Patreon, so £2 a month. But if you aren't able to do that, you're more than welcome to send me an email. So if anyone ever wants to send me some pictures of what they're working on, you can send pictures to contact us at TableTopReady.co.uk. Wisconsin, the cheese state. Yeah, that was my second guess. So I wasn't not too bad. Yeah, John, working on your Horus Heresy box. Yeah, the Horus Heresy boxes have always been sort of designed as one army. That's why you don't really tend to get a repeat in the box. Okay, so you subscribe to both. Okay, so on the Patreon, if you go and look into your perks, sorry, I should have known you're on there. So if you go into your perks, or you should have been sent an email when you joined up, there's a link for the Discord. But what I'll do is, after the stream, I'll put a new invite link into the members chat. So the post, and I'll make sure I do that after the stream. But I really appreciate you supporting me on both platforms. It's really appreciated. Thank you. But yeah. JB85, evening. Got back into the hobby after my son got a starter set. Loving painting again. Your vids have been a huge help in refining technique. Thank you. You're very welcome again. It really blows me away that the amount of people that have come into the hobby because of my videos. It makes it worthwhile. I never thought that would be the sort of main audience for my videos. I always thought I'd be helping those people who've been in the hobby a while, who want to sort of improve their painting. But it's crazy how things work out. I tend to attract new hobbyists and new painters. Virus of Nurgle, evening. Good evening, welcome to the stream. Yeah, so Matteo, just if you have any issues, shot me an email or leave a comment on one of the videos or this live stream. I'll make sure to get you in. You can message me through Patreon as well if you have any issues, but I'll make sure you get into the Discord. Big Monk King, hey Tabletop, just wanted to ask, I'm having a hard time with thin lay paints. Any tips? What are you finding hard about thinning? Is it the amount of, is it how much you're thinning them? What to thin with, or what to thin on? I'll tell you what I do. Well, first of all, I do have a video about thinning your paint, which you can go watch, and it goes into depth in why we thin paint and sort of the process that I follow. But I'll do a quick example here for you. Good evening, Hal Haggis. So, am I pink yellow guy? I'm definitely a yellow guy. I love Imperial Fists. They're my chapter. How much water? Because I'm trying to thin some Screaming Skull, but it's too watery. Ooh. That out of the way. Let's have a look at the consistency of the paints to start with, and we'll have a look. The Screaming Skull is a layer paint. It's actually a lot thinner than say like a base color. This is Cantor Blue, whereas that's quite thick. Now really, you can't, well, you can thin your paint too much, but there's not like a sweet spot where if you thin it too, like, it's not like the porridge situation where it's too hot or too cold. There's usually a range where it's going to be fine either way. And if you find that the paint's too thin anyway, you're just going to be working with more layers. But honestly, I always just default to an equal amount of water. But if you're finding it too thin, just use less water really, as long as it's going down and you've got control over it. But yeah, so like Screaming Skull, you might want to try a little less than an equal amount, just to make up for that. It's a bit of a thinner paint than, say, like a base color paint. I really need to start having things to hand to sort of like paint live streams. So I'm just gonna do an equal amount of water. I will just you need to understand, you need to remember that we're not looking just to cover a miniature with one layer. It's not like you're going to go down and then you're done with one layer. So just using an equal amount of water with Screaming Skull here is actually quite good. But what you'll find is layer paints can be quite transparent. So once that's dried, it probably will be a bit more see-through. So just rely on having to do more layers to build up that colour. That's the only thing I can think of that is causing you an issue, is the coverage. But yeah, if you want go into more detail, if you want a bit more detail about why we thin paints, for example, I do have a video about thinning your paints. It's quite a recent video as well. Oh, Virus and Nurgle says, do I prepare yellow by using pink? I do actually get that comment quite a lot. And I always think to myself, I'm spending enough time putting the yellow down like 3 or 4 layers. People say I should put pink first, but then I think to myself, well, then I'd just be spending time painting pink rather than yellow. It's kind of redundant. Where I agree that a pink base colour really helps is if you airbrushing, because you can put layers of paint down really quickly. But if I'm hand painting, then I'll just go straight to yellow. A super chat. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. Yeah, I think that's the real issue. It's not that the paint's too thin, it's just that you spend time building up those layers rather than just relying on just having one thick layer. Yeah, so I'm not really a pink then yellow, I'd just go straight to yellow. It's like an undercolor like that, it's more for airbrushing, in my opinion. I'm not always right. I know I think it's Warhammer Girl that in her tutorial she does use Imperial Fist contrast, and she does it over like she does it after she's done like a pink wash, which is really quite effective. But I like to shade after the fact. So I like to do my yellow and then apply Passandora yellow. But everyone works differently. Yeah, so Mr. H says there's no catch-all answer, you have to experiment for yourself, but generally the white, all paints that contain titanium white doesn't handle dilution that well. Yeah, so not all paints are made equal in terms of their like thickness, so it's just trial and error. You get used to it as you paint more, and you may find that you actually prefer working with thinner paints, for example. But yeah, just keep painting and don't worry so much, just see what works. Ryan Scale Model World, welcome to the stream, it's good to see ya. I'm taking a break from Warhammer, remember I said in Discord, yeah I remember. But I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here in the live stream. Yeah, so you want your paint to run off the brush easily but not be runny so it goes everywhere, yeah. Yeah, so airbrushing as well, it's quite an involved thing, especially for painting miniatures. I always say that airbrushing isn't a replacement for the brush. It's just it's a different way of painting miniatures. Everyone's different. And if everyone's telling that should do pink before yellow, then just remember that you do what you want to do. Not everyone's right. Everyone works differently. They've obviously seen how it's done by other people and taken that as that's the only way to do it. But try not to just try it out. It maybe something you prefer to do yourself as well. So what am I painting tonight? I'll go into that in a sec. I'll just answer a few more questions, get on with stuff. I know I don't always end up doing what I say I'm going to do, like painting. As long as I'm interacting with you guys, that's what's important. Cheeseburger the second, any progress on the Slaves to Darkness Warriors of Chaos? I did mention that earlier, that I've kind of shelved them because I wasn't happy with how they were going. They were kind of doing my head in and I just lost all motivation for them. But I was saying that I have been thinking about the next Old World video that I want to do. It's going to be based on actually Old World miniatures rather than Age of Sigmar miniatures. Just deciding which battalion I want to do for a video. Oh, thank you so much. Dominating Hippo, I like the name. Hi Pal, just want to say thank you for all your amazing content. I'm 1 month into this hobby and your YouTube videos have been a massive help. I really appreciate the support and the donation. I'm glad you found the channel. As I said earlier, it blows me away how many new people come into the hobby and find my content. I always think stuff I do in my videos, they're quite challenging. But I do believe anyone can paint to the level I do in the videos, because I can. But thank you, I'm glad I've been helping. NASA, hello. So I'm painting 40k Imperial Fists. I'll show you in a sec what I've been working on, because I've kind of done an update on my Imperial Fists for each video. And I'm definitely really motivated now, because obviously last week they've shown Lysander and the Combat Patrol box. And I know there's nothing new about the Combat Patrol box, but I'll definitely be getting it when it comes out, because I just think it's a good box with the... I didn't realise it had the heavy intercessors in. I thought it was 10 intercessors, but it's 5 heavy intercessors, 5 intercessors, and 5 terminators, then the command squad, which I think is a really good box. Gundam, I just finished my first set of minis. Which minis we've been painting? Medieval Minecrafter. Would you recommend any of the cheaper miniature brands, such as Perry Miniatures? If you're looking for, say, when I talk about different miniatures to use for Warhammer, I'll always call them proxies. So if you're looking for proxies for Warhammer, there's loads of different choices. You can use whatever you want, basically. I know a lot of people go out and 3D print stuff as well, and I know there's some great ranges of miniatures out there you can buy, plastic or resin as well. It's really your preference. I've not really explored anything myself, honestly, but just because I obviously work with the Citadel miniatures for my videos, so I tend to stick to those. But really, it's what you like the look of. What I would say is look at the scale of the miniatures, because a lot of the time you'll find that you'll get some of these proxy miniatures and they'll be a lot smaller scale. If I'm thinking about what Perry miniatures are, I think if they're the historical miniatures, because I know the Perry twins used to work for Games Workshop, and I know they do their historical range now, and they look really good if they're the miniatures I think they are. But again, they're smaller scale. But again, it's just personal preference. You do go for what you want to paint. It's all about your motivation. You've had Boris of Nurgle, you've had enough with pink via Emperor's Children. Yeah, the Emperor's Children, getting a light pink's quite difficult. That getting the like the vibe, like the really light pink, took about 4 or 5 layers. But luckily, it's only sort of like parts of the armor rather than all of it. Ryan, so when you return, you're going to be doing some more intercessors. I know you're working on your you've been working on your Ultramarine, which are looking really good. You actually made some good progress before you took your break, to be fair. So you should be proud of that. Alhaggis, what do you think about the new Chaos Dwarfs? I love them. I just wish they were for the old world rather than Age of Sigmar. I was just saying earlier that Games Workshop kind of like pulled the rug under people's feet, because they knew people were waiting for new Chaos Dwarf miniatures. But I think in a way they've designed that range so you can use them for Age of Sigmar. I don't think they've done any new miniatures that you couldn't use for, like, there's nothing in Old World that you'd need now that isn't that Age of Sigmar range. And I think it's a good way as well, if you're buying those miniatures, it's kind of a good excuse to get people to sort of try out Age of Sigmar as well. They know there's a demand for that range. I think that's why they've kind of done it, to kind of like keep both parties happy. Or if you've got a battalion you could send me, I appreciate it, but you keep that. Your painting guides are some of the best I've seen. Thank you for sharing all the basics as well. You're very welcome. My approach to making the tutorials is that I don't want to ever assume someone's already watched any other of the tutorials, so that's why I always make sure I keep all the basics in the video, from how to apply paint to the miniature. Even if someone only watches one video, at least they've got everything in that video. That makes sense. The other way out. Hey dude, I'm struggling with thinning my paints. I never released. I was doing it wrong. Oh, you never realised you was doing it wrong straight out of the pot. How do I thin it right? I've started using a wet palette. I've just talked about that earlier. So if you watch any of my tutorials, I'll always say use thin paints down with an equal amount of water. I do have a video about thinning paints, and it's quite a recent video as well, so I do recommend that. But this is the wet palette I use in all my tutorials. So you just put some paint on. So if you're doing, so here I've say got like a blob of paint, and you'll say like use a blob of water, and that should be fine enough. And that just means you can build up with multiple thin layers. You're not trying to cover a miniature with one thick layer. But again, if you follow any of my tutorials, I sort of talk about that in the beginning in all of them, and I do have a dedicated video for that as well. But again, it's just try it out and see what you prefer. Dominating Hippo, I followed your Rubik Marines video and they have come out amazing. I'm really glad. The Thousand Suns tutorial has been really popular, which is a good thing because it means I'm going to be doing more Thousand Suns content very soon. Probably October, November time. And I've got 3 more videos for Thousand Suns, and which means hopefully you should be able to paint a full Thousand Suns army using my videos by the end of the year. Alhaggis, they're cool, but they've lost a bit of charm of the old ones. Yeah, the Chaos Dwarfs. I feel like, yeah, that's because it's a different style though, isn't it? You're gonna get that Age of Sigmar sort of style. I know there's a lot of good proxies you can buy to print off the Chaos Dwarfs that I've seen. Again, you have to pay for the STL files, but at least you own the STL files that you can continue printing those off. But there's some really good Chaos Dwarf proxies out there. I see you Gundam, you painted some Telepath. I should have guessed by your name, to be fair. I want to do some Tal videos very soon as well. I've just got to decide what I want to do. Ryan says the last thing you painted was the Thousand Suns army. I don't think you've shown pictures of that. To check. Do I want to do Bretonians? I did look at Bretonians. I think they're a bit, for a one-off video, I think they're a bit much to do a battalion. But they are a nice army, something I'd definitely be interested in doing in the future. But I'm kind of looking at Emery, Empire, or Chaos. Medieval Minecraft, I think they are the same scale as Old World. Yeah, so I would have thought, I think all the Warhammer miniatures across all the ranges sort of work to the same scale, so you can sort of cross-platform them. That's what I did with the Night Goblins, and that's what I was going to do with the Chaos Warriors. But I didn't. it was just going to be too expensive to do a Slaves to Darkness swap over Old World. So I'm probably going to just do the Old World miniatures for Chaos. Okay, so I want to carry on working with Tor Garridan, which I kind of did a little bit of last stream if you were here. But what I've done in between streams, is I've just finished getting all the colours down. So for this Imperial Fist army, as you know, or if you didn't, I've been using contrast paints. So I've just gotten all the base colours down for this guy. Again, this is, if you want to know how I've done this guy or my Imperial Fists, I've done a Kill Team Imperial Fist starter video using contrast paints, and it's a very basic scheme and very achievable even for someone new coming into the hobby. So that's where I am at the minute. I've just got to put some Norn oil on for some of the metals, which I forgot to do. Then I'm going to see if I can get some highlighting done. That's his base. Something else I've done with the Terminators, I've added some weathering. I've done some chips and scratches and stuff which wasn't on the Terminators before. They were just clean. So now they match. So now they match the like the Intercessor look. Again, this is a very straightforward scheme, which I've done a video on for the Kill Team Imperial Fists, like the starter Kill Team box. I'm just getting ready for Lysander. So I'm just going to wait for Lysander to come out with the Combat Patrol box for them, and that's what I'll be working. That's what I'll be building and painting for my Imperial Fist next, after Tor Garridan. So I've got Norn here. So if you're doing a shade, you can just do it straight from the pot, but just make sure you don't have loads on your brush. So just sort of bring it to the bristles, and then you can just sort of remove some. And with any shade, you kind of just want to like pull it in place and then move away from it. So you're just letting that shade do its thing rather than keep going in, disturbing it. So just like when you layer in, don't go over areas or you've just put down shade. You're going to get kind of like a more natural look, I guess. Because now if you keep working at it, you're going to mess with the distribution, I suppose, of the shade. Is what you can do once it's dried, if you feel like it's not enough or it's not dark enough, you can always just go in and apply it again after, but once it's dried. But don't keep applying it once you've put some down already, because it won't look as good. You'll start messing around with what that pigment actually wants to do. But obviously, like here, I think I've put a bit too much down, so you can just quickly like remove some. So I'm not necessarily overworking it, I'm just removing excess. The new shades have a tendency, when you put too much down, it can be quite thick. All the pigment will settle in those areas. It will look bad. So less is more. So for the channel, I'll let you know what I'm working on for the channel at the moment. For the past week, I've been working on Blade Guard, like Ultramarine Blade Guard. So that'll be the tutorial for next week. What also I'm working on at the moment is Guilliman, Robute Guilliman. But rather than Guilliman being a tutorial for the channel, he's going to be exclusive to the Patreon and members. So it's something I'm going to start doing for the channel as a character series. So when I get the chance, say like once a month or every 6 weeks or so, I'll have a bigger video that covers like a big character. So this first one's going to be Robute Guilliman. And then after Robute Guilliman, I want to paint the Lion. Lionel Johnson for the Dark Angels. These big characters I probably wouldn't have ever chosen to do them for the channel just because they're quite big projects. But being able to sort of make them premium content just allows me to do more. I'm obviously still going to be doing videos for the channel, so that's not going to take anything away from that. Dominating Hippo, how long do you stream for? I've got to pop out shortly for a little while. Well, if you're still here, I'll probably do like 2 to 3 hours. I tend to start shutting down about 9 o'clock, but we'll see. But a good couple of hours. Medieval Minecrafter, hi Michael, I'm really struggling with painting light volumes. Do you have any tips? Yes, I do. So there's different ways you can do it. You can do it in a really basic way, which is just layering. So painting just the raised areas on detail. Or you can do something called glazing. Glazing is just thinning down your paint more than you normally would, make it more transparent, which means it's going to be better for blending, creating gradient blends. So instead of having sharp lines between two colours, they'll sort of blend into it. That's ultimately what lay paints kind of designed to do, because they're quite thin anyway. Show you an example. I just want to finish that. oil. But if you watch any of my Tyranid videos, when I do paint the skin, I'll start with a wash. Then I'll want to lighten the raised areas of their fleshy areas. So I'll do glaze of their base colour just on the raised areas. And it's up to you whether you want to mix paint or whether you just want to stick with the colours that are in the pots and just use lighter colours. That's a personal choice. Personally, I'll use colours in the pots if they've got them. I'll only mix paints if I really have to. But I would never mix, I would never choose to mix white into a colour to make it lighter. I don't think that's get the true lighter version of it. If you look at any paint range, you'll see there's always like lighter versions of those paints. But you can watch any of my Tyranid videos. I'll talk about glazing the lighter areas, lighten those raised areas back up. Or if you watch my Chaos Legions videos or my Sisters of Battle videos, I'll show you how to glaze volumetric highlights. So rather than just being lines along an edge, let's say you have a curved surface like this. In the videos I'll show you how to glaze volumetric highlight where it gets lighter in the center. I actually do it in the Psychophage video, and I'll show you the miniature I've done for that. I'll show you what I mean. Be a good example. As well, when you're using the shade, you'll be surprised at how little you need. Because when it dries, it does get darker. All that medium evaporates away. Okay, hopefully we'll see it later then, Dominating Hippo. I'll definitely be around till about 9 o'clock. Yeah, so I'm excited for Lysander. Been waiting for a new Lysander plastic miniature for a long time. I've been hoping I was hoping he would get a new plastic miniature. I kind of almost gave up when they brought Torgaradon out, because obviously he's a new character. I thought they might have just replaced Lysander, but obviously Torgaradon isn't Terminate. So I've just done the Norn oil. That's how simple it is to use a shade. Try not to overdo it. Try not to overwork it. If you want to apply more, just make sure it's dried first. You can always go back into darken it once you've seen it dried for the first time. Again, it will end up darker once it's dried. Very deceiving. So I'm just using Seraphim Sapia. This is over the details that I've painted Rune Lord Brass. Just to sort of break up the metals rather than everything being silver. Because Rune Lord Brass is kind of my go-to as an alternative to paint things gold. Because you can overdo things with gold, to be honest. I always think Ultramarines have so much gold, whereas I don't think Imperial Fists suit gold that much. That's why I like the Rune Lord Brass. More muted. That's just one sort of coat of Dawn oil, and you can see it's done a good enough job. I didn't apply that much because again, when it dries, it dries quite dark. Because when you pull it down, the pigment's actually spread out in that medium, whereas when it dries, it goes into the pigment builds up into the details, and that's what it gets darker. I'll get the not the psychophage. Yeah, this is the psychophage. I'll bring this out quite a lot, just because it's got quite a lot of things going on for it. I'll get back to any questions if anybody has them in a sec. Again, if anyone's watching, you want to ask questions, go for it. That's why I do these streams. This is a great opportunity to interact with you guys. So I was saying about earlier, there's different ways. So volumetric highlighting really just means it's a way of highlighting the curved areas or the softer areas rather than a line highlight. You wouldn't be doing a volumetric highlight on the edges of that. It just doesn't make sense. So one way, as I said earlier, you can either just paint it with a layer paint, or you can glaze raised areas. Or if you see here, see if I can zoom in. You can see all these little highlights here. These are volumetric highlights. See, it just builds up into the center like a lighter area. Hopefully you should be able to see that. And again, that's just glazing. So I'll talk about it in the Chaos Legion's tutorial. I'll obviously talk about it in the tutorial I'll do for this guy, and the Sisters of Battle tutorial. But it is quite an involved way of highlighting. But it really looks amazing. My dexterity is greatly improved on my drawing artwork as well as painting. Well, the more you do both painting, miniatures and traditional art, you're going to be building up that hand-eye coordination. What that means is it's just the connection between the brain sort of telling your hand what to do. So when you're thinking about doing something with your hand will follow that more precisely. You won't be shaky either. You build up more connection. That's kind of what hand-eye coordination is. But they're both sort of are built up with practice. British Doge. Hey, I keep finding myself burnt out recently whenever I want to pick up a model. So I was wondering how you deal with hobby burnout. Yeah, it happens to the best of us. So whenever I think about, what I always say is that if you struggle to create, you should consume, because you've just lost inspiration or motivation. So you could just take a break, even if it's like for an evening. It might even last for an evening, but I'd just go away. So let's say I'm working on my Imperial Fist army. I've lost a bit of motivation, or I've burnt out, didn't do much. I might go away and look at what other people are doing with their Imperial Fists, or look at what else you can sort of add to what you're doing, get some new ideas. Maybe read a Warhammer novel, or listen to some lore. You've got the Warhammer Plus content, all their videos, plenty of content on YouTube as well. Go on Instagram, all those sort of places, do a Google search. You'll find that start getting more inspired. But it's always good to take a little break anyway. Something I do, if I feel like I've had too much Warhammer, I've got airfix stuff that I like to do as well. So I'll do, say, like spend a weekend building an airfix kit, because it's a different form of scale modeling. Because I love scale modeling, it's like my specialist interest. So I'll switch to a sort of a different way of modeling, which gives me a nice little sort of break. But you shouldn't sort of force yourself to do something, because you'll just paint it more and it won't turn out as good. Yazan, any tips for highlighting shoulder pads for Space Marine? So there's lots of different ways to answer that. So I'll answer in all those different ways. So your highlights for a shoulder pad, they're the same kind of highlights. So doing your line highlights, which I'll cover on, which is the same for any sort of edge on your Space Marine. It's up to you where those highlights go. I'll get a miniature where you can. Here's a sneak peek of Blade Guard arm that I'm working on next tutorial. Really, this is sort of my go-to when I'm doing shoulder pads. I'll just do a sort of a line around the edge like this, and again it's just doing your line highlights. But it is going to take some practice to paint lines like that. But again, you'll have a different coloured trim as well. But again, you can use the side of your brush, and if you're careful enough, it should be easy enough to get those highlights done. But there's nothing inherently different to highlighting a shoulder pad to highlighting anywhere else on your miniature. But the best way to go about it is to practice. Yeah, Ryan, take long breaks and come back to the hobby. Oh yeah, you shouldn't. It's a hobby at the end of the day. You want to make sure you're enjoying it. So the Seraphim Sapier's dried now, but I feel like it's not really dark enough, so I'm going to do it again. I'm just going to apply it a second time. I haven't really showed any of my airfix stuff because I've just kind of decided to keep that for me. Seraphim Sapie is actually quite a thin shade. Well, you notice the longer you have the shades, they do get thicker, used as they sort of like, you know what I mean, when you get less, well, there's less medium but more pigment because they evaporate or you've used a lot. But again, just sort of go with how you feel about it. Samuel Dando, how do you do Infernus Muzzle Burn over bronze? I've done silver with blue, purple and sapia, but I like the bronze look. I've done intercessors. Now, I'm actually going to change these because I don't like them. But I'll make a short doing it. So to do muzzle burn, it's difficult to do muzzle burn over, say, gold, just because it's quite a dark colour. But if you're doing these, I'll do Runelord brass as a base colour. So if you watch my Furnace Marines video where I paint these, don't follow that for the nozzle. I'm gonna do an update video because I'm gonna update these. So start with Runelord brass. That's dark enough. And then there's two ways you can do it. You can either use a shade or you can use a contrast paint. The contrast paint is obviously thicker. And I think there's like a sequence that you do it in, but I think if you're going to go by the way the studio do it now, they'll tend to do like Agrax Earthshade or Seraphim Sapia on the back of the nozzle and a purple colour here. So you could use, say, Magnus Purple Contrast, or you've got Druchii Violet. So it's really sort of how intense you want to look. And then I would highlight it after. Whereas here I've highlighted it and then done the muzzle burn, which I don't really like. But yeah, so start with Runelord brass. Then either use Druchii Violet or Magnus Purple, which is a contrast paint. And then highlight it after with, say, Canoptech Alloy. But that's what I'm going to update these nozzles to. But again, I'll do a short for it, but I'm not sure when I'll do that. Probably soon. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do with Garadon is highlight. I've always struggled doing on stream. What's everyone working on? So my go-to to highlight yellow, Storm Yellow. Because I always like a good sharp contrast when it comes to highlighting. You have to remember when, I always find that, especially if you're new to the hobby or wanting to improve, you might not be very adventurous in the colour choices for your highlights. You might go a bit darker than you really should. You have to remember that these miniatures are very small. You're going to be looking at them from quite far away. I've used the wrong brush. Arca Plays, hello, love your live streams. I'm working on Sunstealer Wheelers Age of Sigmar. Then you're gonna have to let me know what Sunstealer Wheelers are. Cool. There's so much that comes out for all the ranges that it's hard to know. I do want to do some more ages. I've got a Raw Boys army. I've got Arcanauts. So you just stripped Infernus squad from all different colours they were, my first squad. And you're going to attempt to paint Riftstalkers white Raven Guard. Sounds cool. Have you decided how you're going to paint your white? Oh, they're the new Wolf Riders. I do love that range of miniatures. the next army I'll probably do for Age of Sigmar is likely to be that. Is that range. I would love to use those miniatures for Old World, but I just get the feeling that scale is, they're too big. Especially obviously the Doom Diver. But yeah, I love that range of miniatures. Definitely range that's got me in getting back into Age of Sigmar. When highlighting, I'll talk about what I'm doing if you haven't seen any of my videos. So when highlighting, you're treating your paint like you would layer paint, so you thin it down with an equal amount of water. Use whatever brush you like to use. I don't mind what brush I use, as long as it's like a small, you can use like a small brush or a medium brush. I know it's not a one sort of fits all. I know a lot of people who like to use a big brush for highlight. I just like to use a small brush. What I'll do is I'll try and just get all edges up on the side of the brush, because that's the easiest way to highlight in. And there's a lot of edges on this guy. You'll notice that before I went to the miniature, I just removed a little bit of paint. So if I were to, you can't even see palette. Not enough space. Okay, so if I went to highlight now, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to clean up the miniature. You'll find that you'll get a thick blobby line. Even if you've gone in there and sort of wiped away paint, or been intentional to only get a bit of paint on your brush, because what's happening is all that the brush is soaked up all the paint, and so if you just sort of remove it on your palette, it's only going to get rid of the surface paint. Whereas to remove some from on some kitchen paper, you'll remove some from the inside as well, which actually gives you more control. So I do say in my videos to remove excess paint on some paper towel first. That's why. Stops those blobby lines. Gives you nice crisper lines. You'll be able to do. I'm not even being absolutely like intense with it, or be doing that means you can be a little bit more blasé with it and you'll still get a good result. Remember, when you do your highlights, you're allowed to go in and neaten them up. So if I did get a line that I wasn't happy with, I could just go back in with some Imperial Fist yellow to clean up some messy highlights. You don't have to commit to a line once you put it down. It's okay to sort of go back in, try again. I know there's like the hobby police out there who tell you different things. You can see here I'm messing up the line now because I didn't go and remove paint on some. That's really like one of the basics. I'll do that for layering as well. And it is better to try and do a line in one attempt rather than doing that. But again, something that I like to use when painting is the some reading glasses I've got here. These are prescription finally, but when I wear them I can't read the chat, so British Doge, I'm working on a Krieg command squad at the moment, following War Hipster's guide, as I love how easy it is. Yeah, War Hipster's like a machine in making tutorials. It's his videos that I use to, well, learn how to use contrast paints to paint my crawl boys. So he does some great videos. He's someone I'd like to do a video with in the future. He's talking about contrast paints. So Samuel, you're going to be doing grey sear undercoat, Borax white base, Agrax for shade. Do you think bronze? With the, just for the Agrax earth shade, recess shade, I'm not sure if you plan on doing an all over wash. I'm going to try and stop you from using Agrax earth shade. Go watch my white scars video, because in that video I use Carrick Stone as a recess shade. It's a lot more subtle. If you use a shade, I've kind of gone off using shades for recess shading because they're too opaque. You don't get a good consistent line with them. But let me just move this camera. You're gonna have to like bear with me while I try and hide before garage. But yeah, I'll definitely do a Corax white base, but I'll do a Carrick Stone recess shade rather than using Agrax earth shade, because you're going to make life a lot harder for yourself. But go watch my white scars video. It's a couple of years old now, but it's still a video, still how I would paint white scars, especially if you want an earthy colour for them. If you wanted a cooler white, like a bluish white, you can do, say, like Fenris in grey or blue horror for the recess shade. I've been highlighting Ultramarine for a week, so I feel like I could highlight Marines blindfolded. But again, what makes a difference is practice. I can't actually see anything. I haven't got my glass. Parker plays, are you going to do a Gulliman video soon, or have you not got him yet? I'm working on Gulliman for a video, but he's not going to be for the YouTube channel. He's going to be an exclusive for channel members and patrons, which is going to be something that I do moving forward. So if you join as a channel member or patron at the elite level or higher, which so it'll be £4, which would be like the cheapest end. Get access to the sort of character series and all in it. Because the reason I'm doing that is that I wouldn't do these bigger videos for the channel just because it's just not cost effective. There'd have to be longer videos, but you will be able to pay for them individually. I think I'm gonna have it at £3. Get access to that video on. They're going to be more in-depth tutorials. So it's going to be more like we're doing now, where I'm sat talking to a camera, rather than the YouTube style video. I don't know why I decided I was going to highlight on the stream. It'll be fine, but I can't wear my reading glasses. I might have to give up. Think of something else to do. I know what. I wanted to fix up the chaplain. My plan is I'll have Tor Garridan finished for the next live stream. I just need to highlight. I just can't. It's tough to highlight on stream just because I need full attention. Still want to be able to talk to you guys. What I can do is, as well, with all these lights, the Yazan, do you paint details hidden from view with your miniatures? It depends. If it's sort of do I just paint the front of miniatures? No, I do paint all of the miniature. I do try, and that's why I kind of do what I call sub-assemblies like this. So you can get to sort of areas of the miniatures that are tough to get to if it was fully assembled. But I would try and, like, if it's a hard to reach place on a miniature, it doesn't need to be painted to the same level as everywhere else. But I would at least make sure to try and get base colours and some shades in those areas. It just looks weird if painted. Furious 5, more Orc content, let's go. I was talking about the Reboot Gunman video. I will be doing Gazgul Thraka video, but again, that's probably going to be the last video of the year. That will be for channel members and Patreon, because I've wanted to do Gazgul for a long time, but it's such a big project to do for the YouTube video. But it'll be worth doing a video for them if it's for Patreon and channel members. It's just a way to encourage people to join those sort of platforms as well, just to help grow the channel. Getting tough these days on YouTube, unfortunately. But along with Gazgul, I will be doing a couple of videos for YouTube. I want to do the shock attack gun for YouTube. Thinking of updating the Orc vehicles video, which is like 4 years old at this point. It's actually a bad quality video, but it's been quite popular. It's quite a popular video. That's one that I want to update. So I have got Orc content planned for the end of the year. If anyone's been following my Thousand Suns content, I'm planning on doing Magnus as a character series after the Lion. So that'll be Reboot Gulliman, the Lion, Magnus. I'll be doing, along with Magnus for the channel. I've not told anyone this yet, but I'm going to be doing Harriman for the channel. And I'm thinking I'll do Zangors as well. I think Zangors will be a fun challenge. Just because Thousand Suns have been really popular on the channel. I think that's because of Space Marine, the game. Showing me it's worth doing more Thousand Sun content. Did anyone watch my Votan video? Out of interest, anyone here watch my Votan tutorial that was released last weekend? Oh dear. So I've got my chaplain here. Imperial Fists. And I've tried painting some like scratches and stuff on his armor. I don't like the way it looks, so I'm actually just going to go over it with some Black Legion contrast. I'm getting a bit of lag. Give me a second. And let's talk some more about the reveals. I feel like we haven't even talked about those. Some of the, I feel like the reveals was really strong. They had the Chaos Dwarfs, 40k. You had the Votan. And you know what, the Votan, I think they made the right choice. It's expanded the range, it made it more of a viable range people to do. I'm just going to say stay absolutely still for a minute because computer. Probably overheated. But yeah, the Votan stuff, I think all that stuff they've added to the range is great. And it feels like a range of miniatures now. And they're growing on me. And it was just good timing. Let me know if the stream's lagging for you guys. It'll be okay in a minute. Might just be that. Might just be because I've got the two cameras running. Yeah, I was really happy with the Votan release. They look really good. You also had, oh yeah, it does. That's true. Didn't think about that. But there's a way you could stop that. See here. I've got my paint water jar. I've got my mug. It says for drinking. Get all this stuff. My Fourth Wall store, which is linked in the description. You can get notebooks. There's mugs, stuff with these designs on. Why it's still lagging? That is really annoying. I'm sorry about this. Must be because it's 8 o'clock and they're shutting down the internet. But yeah, they had the Chaos Dwarfs, which was a really great release. I just think everyone was expecting it to be old world. What else did they have? All the Chaos Space Marine characters are fantastic. I'm very keen to paint the White Scar character for the channel, because I want to do an updated White Scar tutorial, and I'm thinking that I want to paint that character. I think the lag sorted itself out now. Sorry about that. I love all the combat patrol boxes for them as well. I think you wouldn't go wrong getting any of those combat patrol boxes anyway, no matter what Space Marine army you can. But obviously the White Scar box comes with a character in it. Orc legend and all-around good guy Grimdark wiped out the Chaos Dwarfs in the old world. Kind of wiped them all out because they're back in Age of Sigmar. Utippo, Pintando. Oi oi oi, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. I've got Grimdark. Haven't finished. Sorry, I don't know where Grimdark is. But Azag was my favourite old, like, Warhammer Fantasy Orc miniature on Wyvern. How many figures do I have in my backlog? Not that many, to be honest. I try and be quite sensible. Most of the stuff I buy is obviously for the channel. So I've just actually got a lot of boxes with unbuilt miniatures in, just because I've obviously bought a box, but I only used built a couple of miniatures out of it. That's okay. But I've got a video on the channel that goes through what I've got, still kind of the same, and I'm slowly working through my backlog. Things I'm working on at the minute, I'm trying to get my Imperial Fists done. But everything I've bought for those are because I bought the starter box for that. So the 5 Terminator, 5 Infernus Marines, Captain. I've got Torgaradon and the Chaplain, but with the Torgaradon, I've kind of painted those miniatures. Got the Tyranid half of that box to finish, and a couple of miniatures from the original Indomitus box that I need to do for those. After I've finished whatever Imperial Fists, after I've finished Torgaradon, my next thing I've got to do to finish these. So these are 40 Night Goblin Archers. So they'll be done in the style of my army that I've done on the channel. Then after I've painted those 40 Night Goblins, that Night Goblin army is done. I can work on my Old World army. But I wanted 40 archers just because of the poison banner, which I learnt about, and then I decided I wanted 40 because I'd finished my Night Goblin army. I decided. Then I learnt about that trick. So I bought 40 goblins. But that's my next project after Torgaradon, because I want to wait for the Combat Patrol box and Lysander before I buy any more of that. I've got my Chaos Space Marines, but I think there'll be a while before I go back to those. Yeah, I've not really got much in the way of unpainted stuff. I've always got orcs to paint, but I've painted a lot of orcs over the years, and I've got a big enough sort of collection to keep me going. So I'll sort of go back to my orcs when I'm in the mood. Again, all I'm doing with this guy, I just want to get rid of these scratches that I put on because I just don't think it looks very good. So again, you can always go back and just change your mind about something. Or at least just reduce them. I just don't need them. You know what I was thinking about the other day? I was thinking about, because 40k is obviously going to get a new release next year, a new edition. And I was thinking what's going to be in the box with the Space Marines next year. So for 8th edition you had Death Guard. 9th edition Necrons. And then 10th edition we've just had Tyranids. Now the obvious choice I think would be Orcs. I don't think it's going to be Orcs, because they've got plenty of miniatures. But if they did do Orcs, I think it'll be a good opportunity to update the basic boys, because the last attempt they did for the basic boys box was really bad. Where it was, you know, the box with where half of them have got Slugger and Chopper, half of them have got shooters, even though the units don't work like that and no one uses them. So I think that'd be a good opportunity to sort of update, say like Knobs, the boys. We also need a new weird boy. But the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm thinking that in the box it's going to be Dark Eldar or Drukhari, because they're a range of miniatures that need updating. It's been years since they got anything new outside of Kill Team. And then I just thought that's obviously what they're going to do. I think that'd be quite a good choice if they decide to do Dark Eldar. It's not going to be obviously out. It's not going to be another good faction. Well, to say good, but it's not going to be another sort of chaotic good or evil good army. So it's not going to be Eldar, but I think it's either going to be Orcs or Drukhari. And I would be happy with either of those, to be honest, because they're so different from Space Marine. Well, because you wouldn't want it to be Chaos again. I'm going to be honest. They've done Death Guard, and they've now brought out all the 4 gods. They've got Emperor's Children, World Eaters, Death Guard, and Thousands. So you don't really need any more. I've had the big Chaos release this year. And Tipo, I have a question. I have a big problem trying to paint a sororitas cloak. Trying it white since I want to give her a Zeta theme. Doing Corax as a base. White Scar glaze, but need tips. Not sure if you've seen. There's a smaller tutorial where I think it's like the silver or the rose color scheme, where I do white material for them. But if you wanted like a nice easy way to do white material, especially on Sisters of Battle, I would do Corax white, and then I would thin down. Not sure, it depends what your actual armor color is. You could go 2 ways. You could do Apothecary white contrast over the Corax white, and just highlight White Scar on the edges. But you could also just do, like earlier I talked about Carrick Stone or Blue Horror, just paint those into the recesses and then highlight White Scar, which is probably the most easiest and straightforward way. But if you look at the Sisters of Battle tutorials I've already done, I do cover white material, white cloaks, or white material at least. But if you've got any more questions about that, you can ask questions on those videos and I'll go into more detail. With the new edition, I'm wondering if I should even be buying models. Yeah, I'm definitely still buying it, because it probably won't be until June next year, so a year away. Got plenty of time. It's not like they're not going to replace miniatures that are already out. Especially these days, they'll just be an add-on to the range that's already there, rather than a replacement. I wouldn't even know what Space Marine stuff they'll put box. There's so much in the way of Space Marines now. I couldn't even think about what's needed. I mean, you've got the White Scar character on the jet bike, or the anti-grav bike. I can't remember what you called this, which people wanted to start with, because obviously the Repulsor, the Repulsor, well, the new tanks, they're all sort of anti-grav, but the bikes still had wheels, so people were like, why? So they might put those in the new box. I think they might just update the basic Intercessor squad, because they're still from 8th edition, which is nearly 10 years ago. I think what they'll do is, because you've noticed that they've sort of applied the rules for the old Space Marine armies and graded them to Primaris. So they've obviously done the new jump pack units, the command squad. I just think that you'll get intercessor squad that will include, say, like a heavy weapon or specialist weapons. That's all I can think of, really. I think they've done enough dreadnoughts. They might do another transport. I think you could do with another chaplain. Or they might just come up with a new might come up with a new theme of Marine, like they have been doing. Obviously in the last box you had they updated the Terminator. It'll be interesting, but I think they'll update the basic intercessor squad. Old Gamer, hello, nice work. Something off topic. Will there be a set of Jade Warriors alone from the Grand Cathay? I don't want the full set. Yeah, I mean, eventually. And with the old world stuff, I think you should already be able to get a separate box. But if not, definitely soon, because they'll release everything separate, because people will want to get bigger armies and just want to get individual units. But they'll probably want to sell as many of the battalion boxes and for. I feel like that they're going to be on general sale anyway. But they're probably just being shipped over at the minute. So I would expect them to, yeah. Armour is black, but problem I see is the cloak is too long and straight, so it's difficult using Apothecary white. It doesn't look solid, like easy to see the brush marks. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I know what you mean. So in that case, I would just use, I wouldn't use grey. I would use, say, like blue horror or like Carrick stone, and just paint that into the recesses. The Blade Guard video I'm doing next week, that's coming up next week, I'll do the tabards, and you'll see how I've painted into the recesses of that. And as I do it with the red as well, you'll see how I've just painted the darker colour into the recesses rather than using shade. But for white, I'll just use Carrick stone or blue horror for material. But about the cafe unit, again, I'm no expert. I obviously don't know 100% what Games Workshop's plans are for their releases, but just from experience, I would expect a separate box for them, because they haven't even released the main dragon character for them yet. I have received your email. I need to catch up with emails. That's one of my jobs tomorrow, because I've got a lot to catch up. So I've not had to catch up with email. But emails are tomorrow and I will reply. Just because I want to give it the time to look at stuff. I don't just want to sit down and do a quick and heartless reply. I want to sort of give it the time and but I'll be doing email. Give me a second. I'll give you a quick sneak peek for those who are still here. So this is what I'm working on for next week. So yeah, you just paint a darker colour into the recesses. So imagine the bone, that's Carrick stone there, but just imagine that's Corax white. Do Carrick stone in the recesses and just highlight white scar. It's like that simple. Yeah, they'll definitely sell the Jade Warriors separate. They'd be silly not to. Because people want to build up armies and I want to buy individual unit. Thinking what else I can do. Keep those questions coming. Thinking what. No one said they'd watch the Votan video either, which is letting me. Up from Furious 5. Yeah, so I've got Gulliman ready to go. He's going to be my next project after the Blade Guard. He's all built and ready. But after that, I'm not sure what I really want to do, tutorial wise. I know I want to do Inner Circle for Dark Angel. Thinking though either Custodes, Tau, Custodes or Tau. It's both those videos are not out of date, but they're quite old. I need to update them. There you go, I'm close to the mic now. What else have I got to do? How awful is the Ghost Arc to paint? Have I painted the Ghost Arc? Oh, for the Necrons. I've done the Doomstalker. It probably won't be any different to that. It's just figuring out how to sort of do. You're obviously going to be doing it in sub-assemblies, but no different. I think all the Necron vehicles are quite awkward to paint just because of their shape. Yeah, so the Lion, Gulliman, I'll be doing not for the channel, but I'll be doing those exclusively for channel members and Patreon members, just because they're bigger videos. They're going to be longer. They're probably going to be like an hour long for those videos. And now those tutorials will be more sort of like this, where I'll be talking in the camera rather than a voiceover, and you'll get a lot more in depth with each step. What's my favourite and least favourite models Games Workshop has made, looks wise? Recently, honestly, I don't like the new Orc Boy box set. Like the Orc Boys box, just because they're pointless, they're useless. I don't really like the look of them either. They don't really fit in with the rest of the range. What I feel like someone's come in who's sort of new, who's training to be in the studio, design studio, they've created that box. I've kind of gone with it. I just feel like a lot of bad decisions were made for that. Yeah, I just don't like the look and design of that box, or the orcs, or the poses. The fact that half of them have slugger and chop and half of them have shooters, and you have to have a flamer or a big shooter. It's not like you've got the choice of not having that. And obviously you've got the orc knob. But that's why you can still get the old orc boys, because they know they're messed up. That's why they've changed the combat patrol box to the beast snaggers. That's probably like my least favourite release that Games Workshop have done recently. But other than that, they've kind of knocked it out of the park, to be honest, with a lot of their stuff. My favourite miniature that they've done recently is probably the Lion, like Lionel Johnson. That's why I'm eager to paint him. And that's why I'm eager to see more loyal Primarchs released in the range. And I know they've got some ready to come out. And there's rumours that Dawn's going to be released, which doesn't really make any sense. But I'd like to see Jagagai Khan, the White Scar Primarch, or the guy for Salamanders. One of those two. I think they would make sense. But Dawn, I feel like Dawn is just another Reboot Gulliman in terms of design and aesthetic. It'll just be ornate armor. I do have a cat, and I do like the Yvraine miniature. I think after I've done Imperial Fists, I want to do an Eldar army. Ratio. How would I go about painting Iron Warrior hazard stripes on a model? Good question. You're in luck, because one of my most recent videos I painted an Iron Warrior, and I've just recently released a short during the week as well. Aaron, thanks for subscribing if you're here. Yeah, so I've actually just released a short. It's quite easy. Well, not super easy. When I'm painting yellow, I always like to start with a mix of Avalon Sunset and Flashgitch Yellow, because it gives you better coverage, but I don't want it to be as dark as Avalon Sunset, so that's why I like to do a mix. Just because it covers better as a base colour. So I'll do that first, and then you're marking your hazard stripes. And then you just go in and neaten those up until you're happy with them. And once you're happy with the way your hazard stripes looks, you can even, that's when you put in like your chip in it as well. And then I apply Iyanden yellow contrast over everything, including the black. Just because it looks weird if you just try and apply the Iyanden yellow just where the yellow is. You get weird, it just looks weird. So if you just apply it over everything, it helps with that sort of tone it gives the yellow. Obviously that's going to affect the black, so I'll just go back in with the Banner black after that. And then if you've got any edges like on this knee pad, you can just use Flashgitch Yellow. Remember, if you've got any sort of freehand or any design like this, you don't highlight a painted image because it's not a raised image. So a lot of people would probably go in and highlight the yellow and the black. You can do if you want to, that's obviously your choice. But you wouldn't get highlights. There's no actual edge there. But if you do actually have actual edges like this knee pad does, you can just use flash sketch yellow. As I say, if you go on the channel, I've recently done this guy Iron Warriors for Horus Heresy, but you can obviously apply this whole scheme to the 40k Iron Warriors. But I do have an Iron Warriors video up as well, but it's in the Chaos Legions video, which has like Night Lords, Word Bearers, Alpha Legion in them. And you can get even more specific with Hazard Stripes, because I've just released a short which will just show you everything what I've just told you, basically. But that's how you do it. As I was saying, like, I've got Reboot Gulliman ready to go to paint, which I'll be doing after the Blade Guard. And this is a good opportunity just to sort of talk about the channel membership and the Patreon. If you enjoy the content, you feel like you get any worth from the content, and you want to support the channel, which I would really appreciate, you can join those platforms, so Patreon and channel YouTube membership. At the moment, everything gets the same perks, pretty much. So you get access to the Discord, and I haven't forgotten to sort the link out after this stream either. You'll get to see tutorials early, and you'll get sort of regular updates on what I'm working on. So all the supporters have seen like the Blade Guard and what I've been up to with those for the past like week or so, and how they're getting on. But Gulliman is sort of the first in a series of videos I'll be doing exclusively for those two platforms, so the character series. So if you join either of those platforms at £4 or more, so the channel membership for YouTube is like £4. And then Patreon, if you join at the Elite level or higher, it's for £4. You'll get access to these character videos. So obviously there'll be more released as we go on, just to sort of encourage more people to join those platforms, just to help pay the bills and help me do this sort of full time. I can do Yvrain and Gulliman on a date. Maybe that's what I'll do in the future. But yeah, I'll be working on this guy next week. Which I'm looking forward to. But again, like the TableTopReady's YouTube channel won't sort of miss out. Dominating Hippo, thank you very much. I really appreciate you obviously supported early as well. If you go over there now, you'll see updates for stuff that I've been doing. And again, if you can't find the link to the Discord, I'll sort that out after stream. But you can always sort of look in your perks, I think it's there if you're struggling. But yeah, so Gulliman, after this will be the Lion. I want to do Magnus. I've got plans to do Gazgul Thraka. And it's just sort of like the bigger characters that just take a more effort and time to do, to create a video for. What kind of feedback would you like for my videos sent to me via email? Send any feedback, I do take it on board. And also leave comments on the videos as well, lots of different ways. as long as it's constructive, don't hurt my feelings. But yeah, as I say, I'm going to be doing emails tomorrow. But obviously with feedback for videos and stuff, understand that I've kind of built up an idea of how my videos look and present themselves for a reason. So if I don't take your feedback on board, or I might not agree with something, don't take that the wrong way. I put a lot of sort of thought and ideas in why I do things, but it's sort of thought out a lot. And I'm always trying to be different from other content on the channel as well. So I'm not somewhere, if you look for channel members, but what I'll do is after the stream, to make it as easy as possible, I'll put a new link invite in the YouTube posts on the YouTube channel after the stream. But otherwise, you can, if you sort of hunt into what your perks are for your channel membership, somewhere in there buried will be a link. But don't worry if you can't find it, I'll make sure to put one in after the stream. Hello, Russell Alexandria. Oh, forgive me. Russell, I'm so rubbish at names. How's it going? You have to let me know if I say that right. Russell Alexandra. You have to spell it out phonetically for me. Do I have a tutorial on how to paint silver non-metallic metal? I really don't know how to do that. So non-metallic silver metal is just going to be grayscale. I've done non-metallic metal for Dante, so you can sort of watch that video and just replace the colors with grey colors. But I talk about lighting and source lighting, how to approach painting non-metallic metals in general. It's just different colors you'll use, but it would be a grey scale. If you want to paint a sword non-metallic metal, if you watch my Deathwing tutorial, I'll show you how to paint this sort of like the power sword, technically in non-metallic silver. Tramari, yeah. Non-metallic metal it's not a technique, it's a style. It was a huge challenge for me when I did it with Dante, but I'm really happy that I gave it a go. But it took a lot of time and patience to do. It does look good. I wouldn't paint a whole army like it, but it does look good to set up for like a one-off character. So if I just joined, this is my Tor Garridan currently. I did all the base colours and I did some applying shade. I was going to try and do some highlighting, but I just find it difficult to highlight on stream. Just because I can't sort of get comfortable and it's just tough to see. But I'll finish him for next stream. It's tough to decide what kind of stuff to do on stream while I talk to you guys. Like just doing like building's a good thing to do, but I don't have a lot of stuff to build. Because I always like to do stuff where I could sort of talk to you about what I'm doing as well. But doing like contrast stuff or base colors is good. Tramaria caved and bought a hero pack from Games Workshop. $10 for a figure I may never build and or paint for a long time. Personally, I'd probably avoid the hero packs. Because they're actually a smaller scale than the general released miniatures. Which I found out doing the kill team stuff. They've already kind of proven that they'll just release those miniatures all separately later on anyway. So personally, I don't think they're worth the investment. Unless you're just like doing blind boxes generally. Have I ever given my thought to doing like a dark and gritty oil wash with like OS object source light eyes or something? Yes, I do. I do plan on doing a Grimdark style tutorial, and I want to do that by the end of the year. And I have got thoughts about how to do it. The thing for me about the Grimdark style is I want to understand what it actually is, so I can represent it well enough in the video. Because I want to be able to explain it, and I don't really understand it myself. I don't know what because you want it to be. It's not a technique. It's more of a style. So you want to be able to teach it in a way that you can apply it to any sort of miniature, rather than just say like a Space Marine. But it's a video that I'm thinking about in the back of my mind. But to do that type of video, it's very different to a normal tutorial that I do, because it would involve varnish. And it's something I'd need to practice as well. I know it would be quite a popular video as well. And it's something I'm interested in doing. It's not like, obviously I really like bright colours. And object source lighting is something that I'm thinking about as well. But that's in the same vein as doing non-metallic metal for me. And it's something I've not really practiced. It's something I'm going to have to teach myself. I don't like gold on figurines. I was told to put yellow in the gold, brown, bronze, grey in the metal. I haven't tried it yet. You mean you don't like painted metals, or you don't like the look of the metal? Because you could do non-metallic metals, or you could choose, as people have said, that's actually quite a good suggestion. Is it just the shininess? Because you could, when contrast first came out, they didn't use as an example, they didn't sort of paint metallics on them, they'd use contrast instead. But you could replace those metallic colours with the equivalent, as you say, like the gold with yellow, silver with grey, bronze with brown. But it's it's something it's gonna be a tough thing to replace. Tramari, thanks for joining us. Go and enjoy your dinner. Yeah, so with Grimdark, it is a very it can be a very messy technique. Again, it's just how I'm thinking how I would approach it, because I don't think I would approach it in the same way that people have got different ideas about it. Because I've watched other people's tutorials on it. The way they approach Grimdark is just teaching people an easy way to paint miniatures, rather than actually teaching people the style itself. So it'd be like using a lot of sponges and washes and dry brushes. Yeah, Stephen, I was wondering if you're going to join us this evening. Welcome. But Russell, yeah, that's an interesting question, because I haven't really thought about mixing metallics with the general acrylic paints. That's something to think about. I might try that. How do I feel about painting resin and metal miniatures? I've painted metal miniatures and resin miniatures. I think these days the resin miniatures that Games Workshop do is absolutely fine. Obviously with resin that you could say get from like Forge World, you need to wash, and especially if you print, resin with a resin printer. I've done a video. You definitely need to clean that and cure it. But it's not any different from painting plastic. Plastic for me is the best medium to work with. Let's say you're painting metal miniatures. If you find that the paint's struggling to stick to the miniature, you could always give it a matte varnish first, then paint over the matte varnish. So you might think wait until the end and use matte varnish after you painted everything, but what I would do is do your undercoat, then matte varnish it, and then paint it, doing metal miniatures. Have I done a Crimson Fist video? Not yet. What I've been taught, I do want to do different chapter videos. So what I'm toying with the idea of doing next year is videos with 3 chapter schemes in. But I know Crimson Fist will be in the first of that series of videos. I know a lot of people ask for different chapters. There's only so many times you can paint the same chapters of the original chapters, obviously. Because I want to do Mantis Warriors, Crimson Fist is an obvious one. Lamenters will be a good one. I'd also want to do maybe a colour scheme where it's sort of half and half or in quarters, say like Howling Griffins or Stormlords. I've always wanted to do Stormlords. I think that'd be an interesting colour scheme too. But Mantis Warriors would probably be a really interesting one to do. I know Raptors are quite a popular one. Sides of the Emperor. So I will cover different chapters in the future. It'll just be projects for next year. Yeah, the new Tomb King. I was looked at those. I'm very tempted to do Tomb Kings as my next army. Even Tomb Kings to do for an Old World video. Harlequins, I have got a plan to do Harlequins. I'm gonna do one of the bikes. So one of the ones, so it's like one of, I couldn't even tell you what the name. So it'd be one of the bikes with the 2 Harlequins on it. So that way I can show a lot. Yeah, Ballistic with the Astartes 2. I am actually trying to do that, and that's why some of my choices for the Space Marine videos have been made. So I've obviously done the Chaplain, I've done Gulliman. The Thousand Suns I decided to do for that as well. You've obviously got the Tyranids. And that's actually why I'm doing the Blade Guard for next week. Because obviously they've got the aesthetic that they've got a lot of the aesthetics you can choose in the Space Marine 2 game. Oh, you're not talking about... Ignore me. I know you're talking about the Starters 2 animation. I am thinking about that. But the thing about... I know they've done the trailer, but I'm not quite sure the Raptors and the Scythes of the Emperor are going to be in the main series. But if they are, I am going to do that. Don't worry. I absolutely agree with you. I just want to see more of it. And I didn't do it with the initial trailers because everybody else jumped on it. So I'm just biding my time and I'm waiting. But I will. Because it was so popular. I'd be silly not to. But I'm definitely up for doing Size of the Emperor and Raptors as a video. Sort of leaning towards the Starters too, but no, I agree with you. Yeah, but with Harlequins, I don't think they'd be that difficult to paint. Sure, I could figure it out. But yeah, I've been wanting to do Harlequins for a while. I actually forgot about them, to be honest. They've took a back seat. I just don't think it's going to be a hugely popular video, but it's definitely one that I want on the channel. Just as a flex to say that I did it. Yeah, famous last words. But yeah, I want to do one of the bikes with the two Harlequins on it. So I feel like I can cover a lot of the whole range then. I think it'd be more fun to paint that for a video than just one Harlequin. But I've seen some really nice Harlequin videos. You don't always obviously need to do the checkers, but that's what people want to paint. I think when it comes to painting stuff like that and doing freehand, a lot of what I'm actually trying to show in the tutorials, well, not show, but to sort of like get rid of that anxiety and apprehension and sort of help people believe they can achieve it. Because again, people just think they have to go in and get it right the first time. You could literally just rough in all those shapes and then neaten it up. Yeah, finding something interesting and unique to paint is always motivating. Yeah, once I'm doing paid like the character series, I won't be so invested. I'll be more adventurous with the TableTopReady tutorial. I'm not worrying about view. Like the Votan video I did last week, I did because I wanted the challenge of doing Votan, because there isn't really another channel that's done a proper Votan tutorial or the box color scheme. That's why I wanted to do it. Otherwise I probably wouldn't have done it because it wasn't very popular. It didn't get many views. It wasn't pushed out very well, which I knew was going to be the case. Stepney11, hello, welcome to the stream. I am live, not AI. Yeah, so Harlequins will be, just for me personally, a fun video to do. And one of my goals is to make sure I've got a video for every faction, hopefully, on the channel soon. I was saying earlier that Dark, I'm hoping Dark Out, like the Drukhari, is going to be the second, like the Xenos army for the launch, along with the Space Marine. So then I could cover Drukhari, which I haven't done yet. Will I try to get an exclusive captain? I think it's tomorrow. Oh, is he? Good job he said that. I'll investigate. I know which guy you're talking about. I'll have a look. I thought it was just going to be general release. But thanks for letting me know. Are you using your tutorial to paint your Muzzle? Yeah, I still get a lot of comments on that video. I was really pleased with that tutorial. And it's still one of my favourite miniatures that I've painted. Hopefully you're getting on well with it and you're enjoying it. When it comes to the tattoo, it doesn't have to be as complicated as I've made it in the tutorial. I've just tried to copy the box as close as I can. But you can make it, if you're struggling, you can make it a simpler tattoo if you want to. It's still going to look good. I think I say in the video, like, the fact that you've just attempted to do something like the tattoo is going to really impress people. And I looked at it yesterday and I looked at the tattoo. It's actually quite rough. Still looks good. Oh, is it? Oh, okay. I'll go via the shop tomorrow then and buy one. Thanks for letting me know. I appreciate that. I'm not a big fan of exclusive miniatures or limited runs. Personally. If it's a different variant, then I'm on board with it. So I don't feel like I need it. So if it's like the 20th, like a 20th version of the Lieutenant, I wouldn't be that bothered. But that captain's quite nice, so I'll probably pick it. Obviously, because I've got the Ultramarine. Yeah, I mentioned that it's probably going to be Orcs earlier as well, but I just feel like Drukhari, they need a release, and I feel like they're waiting for the 11th edition. But I did say if it was going to be Orcs, because they do need, I feel like they need new knobs, they need a weird boy, and they need a new basic Orc boy box, so we can just forget about the last one they did. I think they'll probably they need to update the bikes as well, and you'll probably get knob bikes maybe. So rather than just having normal Orc bikes, you'll get crazy knob bikes or something. So a lot of the Orc basic units do need upgrading. You'll probably do with a new Orc war boss, like a basic one. But I would like to see Drukhari as well, because it's been like nearly 10 years since they've seen anything apart from Kill Team. George Wright, hello, welcome to the stream. Stepney, yeah, if you're comfortable with your freehanding, go for it. I'd like to send me pictures, email me pictures. They should have banners. I've actually saved a lot of the banners from all my Space Marine kits, so I've got a pile of the banners. Just deciding if I want to add them to my Imperial Fists. But I can make that decision after I paint the Imperial Fist army. Obviously I'm going for an old retro look. Yeah, we do need a new war boss. We definitely need a new weird boy. Still like the fine cast. just it's nice, but definitely new Orc boys, new Weird Boy, new bike unit, new knobs. The mentors would be cool. I think you're obviously going to get Ultramarine still. It's just hard to guess what base marine units would be in the new box. I said they need to update the basic intercessor unit. I think they're going to go in line with more the old unit with a heavy weapon and special weapon. But I know with the intercessors, with the Primaris, they're all about the whole unit's armed with the same thing. Ballistic, I wish the Orcs had more plates attached to them, like the heavy units. Also don't like how their butts stick out. Yeah, they are aged, they do need a new unit, it's just that they missed the boat with the recent one they did. I think you'll see a more heavily armoured one. I know you've had the tank busters recently with the kill team. I think you could do like Ard Boys or like the Knob unit like that. And yeah, the Weird Boy doesn't hold up anymore. There's definitely yeah, that's what I'm thinking. They'll primarize the tactical squad and Devastators, so you can pick a mix, because they've updated the drop pod. So it makes sense that they would update the basic. You might even get like a Razorback. I think you'll get a transport. So you've obviously got the current one, but I think you'll get like a Razorback version of that maybe. I think they've overdone the melee Marines now, because they did that for the second with the Necrons. The old drop pods moved to 30k interest. Yeah, but that came out of nowhere, that they sort of updated. Maybe they thought about that for the new edition box set, but decided that there wasn't a place for it in the box set, so just released it. Have they done Primaris Vanguard, or is it just the Stern Guard they've done? So that might be something they do, is the Primaris Vanguard. So now you've got just the standard jump pack unit. We need another Chaplain model. That isn't a Terminator. But yeah, I think you're right. I think we'll see Devastators and Intercessors. I'm still waiting for Savage Orcs to come back to Old World, which I'm hoping they're going to do for Christmas. Maybe with like a battalion box. British though, they haven't done Vanguard yet, so they're going to be in the new box then. Vanguard are definitely going to be in the new box. With new Intercessors, Devastator Squad, new Transport, a Chaplain with Jump Pack. And probably, to be fair, they'll probably do another Apothecary. Yeah, Stepney. You've currently got the new sort of version of their Rhino, I don't think you'll get a Primaris version of the Rhino, but I think there's room for a light transport with a weapon, like the Razorback. If I'm going to be honest, I think they need to release a Primaris version of the Land Raider. I think that would blow everyone's mind. Do an updated Land Raider. I think that would blow everyone's mind. But in terms of lore, how are the Ultramarines going to fight orcs or whatever is in the new box if they're having big problems versus Tyranids? Should be a different chapter. Well, in the lore, you'll probably find that like the Space Marines are fighting all the like Xenos factions throughout the galaxy. It's not just the Tyranids, and they usually update the lore for the new edition anyway. So they'll just write new lore. But there's like literally they're fighting everybody at the same time all the time. It would be nice to see a new Rhino kit. But I would love to see a new Land Raider. I just feel like the Land Raider is outdated now, and it's very expensive for what it is. I'm getting the Death Guard from this year for my birthday. I've got any tips on painting them? So I've got 2 Death Guard videos on the channel. I've got one for the Pallet I, which is a nice easy colour scheme. I have got an older video for the green colour scheme, which I do plan on updating. I think the beginning of next year I'm going to do Mortarion in the character series for Patreon and channel members, but I'll also update the Death Guard video. But that probably won't be till early next year. But I do go check out the channel. There's a couple of videos there already. Yeah, it'll always be Ultramarines in these new boxes. Games Burger. Working my way through the Space Wolf box right now. I'm surprised that box is still available. And I'm hearing the Horus Heresy box hasn't sold very well either. I just feel like there's a real sort of quiet period in the hobby at the minute. And you can see that by the sales, because even the Cathay box is still available, like the Battalion box. So they're either producing too much of these limited boxes, or people aren't buying them. Yeah, so they did Dark Angels for the 7th edition. They originally did Black Templars for 3rd edition, but it has always just been Ultramarines of the white. Just for continuity, probably. I do like the new Space Wolf stuff. I don't like the Combat Patrol box for them though, because they've got the is it Wolfkin? And you know they're just sticking them in the Combat Patrol box because they've got loads of them that no one's buying. But yeah, it's really quiet in the hobby at the minute. I mean, just in views in general for a lot of the channels, there's not much interest. But to be honest, I think next year is going to be picking up. I think there'll be more news of the Henry Cavill series on Prime or Amazon. And then with the new edition, I think you've got a Starters 2 probably be out next year. Yeah, the Grey Knights, they missed the trick by not. They should have just waited and updated their range with the Grey Knights. I would have bought into a new range of Grey Knights. Oh, you're very welcome. I'm glad you enjoy the tutorials. I love doing them. If you've got any questions, I'm here right now. I can answer any question you've got. I'll probably go for about another 20 minutes. I'm just enjoying having a chat with you guys. Yeah, you've got the re-release of Dawn of War. Well, I didn't know Total War were doing a 40k game though. Interesting. I don't think RTS really worked because they tried. Did they release the Age of Sigmar one they showed off? No one's talked about that one. Yeah, the Grey Knights, they really just needed to update them. Even just they could have done a kill team like they've done with Deathwatch. And I don't think they even needed to do Deathwatch because you can just apply extra bits to Primaris anyway and then just be Deathwatch. I understand why they did it, but I think they could do like a Grey Knight kill team. I always thought Total War was more sort of historical. What did I see the other day? You've got Total War. I saw they've got like an Egypt version of it. And they've got a Lord of the Rings one as well, Silmarillion. I didn't realise they did like a Lord of the Rings Total War as well. I'd be interested in the Lord of the Rings one. But I didn't even know that existed. I know that Warhammer Total War is still really popular. Oh, I've just got to let my pain. I really thought they were going to announce the Chaos Dwarfs for Old World. I remember Stephen saying you said they've got Chaos Dwarfs and they've got the Pirate Vampires. And I think you're right. I think they'll see, because Cathay obviously came into Old World. But now they've done the Chaos Dwarfs for Age of Sigmar, you're probably going to get maybe the Pirate Vampires. Because you've got Tomb Kings, but you haven't got your traditional undead for the Old World yet. Only in Legacy. Space Marines destroy easier Chaos now since Chaos has no Primaris and more battle experience, but way less armor and pew power. I think with Chaos, I think they're just, as you say, they're probably just more experienced. They've got a lot more sort of demonic units for them. It would be weird to see Chaos Primaris. I just don't think it would be a thing. But I think with Chaos, you need to be able to sort of mix demons and Chaos together to make it obvious. Carl, are Citadel brushes good? And when it comes to brushes, it's really personal choice. My approach is, I feel like you should learn to use a mediocre brush to challenge yourself. And I feel like Citadel brushes are quite middle of the road brushes, so if you can use Citadel brushes, you can use any brush. The better the brush doesn't always mean better painting, but just try some out. Winsor and Newton do some really good brushes, and they do sort of like a cheaper range to more expensive range. I know Series 7 is a very popular range of brushes, and I used to use those, but they're very, like, they're £15 brushes. Because you're replacing them, say, like every 3 months, the cost it's not worth it. But I'm a very rough and ready painter, so I'm not very delicate. I don't treat my brushes very well, so that's why I quite like the Citadel brushes. And I know they're still like £6, but they're good enough, but disposable, if you know what I mean. They're easy to replace and available, get hold of, easy to get hold of in all countries. I wish Chaos Dwarves were old world, but they're trying to keep Age of Sigmar alive. I don't know if you hear, I was talking about that earlier. I think it's quite an interesting tactic they've done. Because all the miniatures they've released for the Chaos Dwarves, you could actually use for old world. They're obviously a legacy range. But I think they are trying to draw people. They've seen how well Old World is doing. I think it's probably doing better than Age of Sigmar in some ways. But it's a good way to draw people from Old World to Age of Sigmar as well. So I don't blame them. Especially as you can use that range for both. It makes sense. Yeah, the Vampire Coast. I think that'd be quite an interesting one. I'd be quite interested in doing that range. Yeah, contrast paints and metallic paints do. That's why I like to use a varied amount of brushes rather than just buying one brush and expecting to do everything. It's good to have sort of like, so you see here, like I've had all these brushes. I've tried to take care of these brushes this time, to be fair. I've probably had a lot of these for about 6 months. But I've got like 4 small layers, a couple of medium layers. I just don't try to expect one brush to do everything and then expect it to last a year, because they wear out. And there'll be people out there that'll tell you that brushes are an investment. Brushes are like cars. They lose their value. They decrease in quality as you use them, and they need to be replaced. They don't get better with age. Don't check the grate. Been watching your tutorials for a while, but this is my first live. Welcome to the live stream. Thank you for joining us. I hope you're enjoying the conversation. The Ultramarine guides were a huge boost to my Ultramarines. Thank you, and keep killing it. I appreciate that. Thank you for letting me know. The tutorial I'm working at the minute for next week, a blade guard. I'll show you a quick update. Not even that I've not updated the Patreon yet, but this is where blade guard are at the minute. So today I worked on the tabards. I started finishing the metals on the shield. I had to redo the tabards because I wasn't happy with it. So I've redone them. So these will be out next week. I'm looking forward to these ones because I'll show you how to do some markings like I did in the Terminate Captain video. It's just going to be a lot of different things. And this video is going to combine everything I've learned from doing all the Ultramarine videos. So it's going to kind of be like the ultimate way to paint your Ultramarines. But I'm really glad you're enjoying the tutorials. I'm also working on Gulliman for the future, but that will be exclusive content for supporters. So you've only painted the Tyrannid Prime from the Dominus spot in Dominus. To be fair, I've managed to paint the Ultramarine side of the box. I've just got to finish highlighting the 5 Infernus Marines. And for the Tyranids, I've got to paint the Screamer Killer. A lot of people ask me to do a tutorial for the Screamer Killer. I probably will paint it, but I might make an exclusive content. Because I want to paint the Norn Emissary, but that will be for the character series I do for Patreon and membership. What's your favourite rowboat? Is that the transport? Stephen, you'd be surprised how quick painting the Tyranids actually are. I know like the big stuff like the characters can be quite challenging, but once you like the basic stuff like the skin and the carapaces, old rowboat, yeah, so I've just shown he's ready to he's built. I'm going to be painting him after the Blade Guard, so he'll be up and available probably in a couple of weeks time. And to get access to these sort of character tutorials, you'll have to join either the channel membership or the Patreon at the £4 up tiers, or it will be available probably a couple of weeks later for £3 after the initial sort of launch. But these tutorials are going to be designed to be a bit longer, more in depth, and more sort of like how we're interacting now, where I'll talk to the camera as I paint. So I'll be able to sort of talk about my ideas a bit more rather than just doing a voiceover for a YouTube video. Or you could join both. I know Matteo from earlier said he had. And with those as well, you'll get access to the Discord. You'll get to see tutorials early, and you'll get updates with what I'm up to. The next update I'll do for the membership and Patreon will probably be when I've finished the Blade Guard. What kind of painter am I? Do I buy 5 to 6 boxes, store them, or do I like to buy one and paint it before getting the next one? I think since I've been doing the channel, I'm more of just to buy a box and paint it, just because that's how I do the tutorials. I decide what I want to paint for the videos, and I'll buy that box. Kind of bled into like how I paint my army generally. So I don't get a lot of time to paint my own stuff. I can't really afford to have plastic just sitting around not doing anything. But what I used to do is I used to buy armies from people and refurbish them. So my Orc army I've refurbished. the Chaos Army I bought was refurbished. Or something else I'll do is I'll buy, so for like my Space Marines and Tyranids that I've got, I've just bought the starter sets, which are more cost effective to do. The Karajan Overlords that I've got, I just bought 3 Vanguard boxes, or that's what they used to be called anyway, because that made an army, and I just bought, say, like an Arcanaut. Is that what it's called? The big one, the Arcanaut, the big one on top of that. So I'll try to find more cost-effective ways to do things, but if it's a general, like now, I'll probably just buy a box, paint it up, buy another box and paint it up. I don't do any members only early videos on YouTube, do you? No, I wouldn't make people pay for content that's going to be available eventually. Well, technically I do now because you get tutorials early, but the support is there mainly because you enjoy the channel. So any members only videos I do in the future will never be available on the channel. They'll always be on demand, I suppose, paid content. Yeah, so the way it's going to work on YouTube, they will appear as members only videos, and because I can upload videos to Patreon separately, they'll be exclusive on Patreon. So it won't be, because now when you get an early video on Patreon, it'll just be linked to the video on YouTube, because that's just unlisted. But moving forward for the paid videos, it will show up as members only videos. So like Pete, is it Pete the Wargamer, who does all the conversion videos? I know he's got members only content. But yeah, I have seen that, so that is what I'm going to be doing, because I can upload separate videos to Patreon, because there'll be Patreon where you can pay for the videos separately rather than joining a tier, which will make more sense in the future to just join one of the tiers, because that monthly payment will cover obviously more than one video. Whereas say like paying £3 for one video is just one video. But yeah, it will show up as a members only video on YouTube. What were we talking about? Yeah, so Reboot Gunman's going to be after the Blade Guard. And then I'll obviously advertise and tell people about that, so that'll be soon. Because I have wanted to paint characters for the channel, but they're just going to be too big of an investment to do for TableTopReady. And I won't need to rush doing the tutorial for them. What do I do with my miniatures? Do I store, sell, gift them? Do I have 2,000 plus miniatures? So with the Ultramarines I've been painting for the channel, they've actually become an army now, just like a nice display army. And the Tyranids as well, they'll obviously become an army as well. Otherwise, it's always just tends to be like a couple of miniatures for a faction, and they do just go in a box, because it wouldn't really be worth even gifting stuff. I've got some Necrons, I've got the Imperial Guard Combat Patrol box, which I'm actually going to gift to a friend when I see them next, just because I don't need to sell them, they've kind of like paid for themselves. So I do like to gift. Just going to gift them to him just to help him sort of, because I want him to play 40k, to be honest, so I can play 40k with him. He says he's interested in Necrons. I know he plays bolt action, so I know he'll like having some Imperial Guard. So it's kind of like a way for me to get him into Fort, because I play Old World with him at the minute. Tyranid Typhon scheme has been getting some attention lately, and you have some spare Tyranids to try it on. Is that the kill team? I'm going to be honest, I don't like that colour scheme. But I am going to do a Hive Fleet colour scheme video when I do the Norn Emissary in the future. I have thought about doing gifts for subscribers and patrons, but the logistics of doing it is so difficult because it's so expensive to ship things as well. And it's like I've only got a limited amount of stuff that I'd be able to give people, so it'd be unfair to give some people some things and then other people not get them. I'd rather be as fair as possible. But it is something I've thought about. I've been thinking a lot about how I can give more to the supporters, and doing this extra content is a way of doing that. And I kind of want to keep all my stuff that I've painted just for prosperity. Like, I don't mind giving away, say, like the combat patrol boxes, but that's an investment for future hobby. But individual stuff that I paint for the channel, I kind of just want to keep just for myself. But yeah, it's just the logistics of picking people who deserve it and then getting it out to them. Right, I will wrap up in about 5 minutes. So any last questions, ask away, and then we'll wrap up. 9 o'clock, it's bedtime for me. You can't film in Warhammer World. You need special permission, and I can't even get them to reply to an email. But that would be a cool idea. Yeah, you can't film in Warhammer World. Have I thought about what old world battalion I wanted to paint? I think for the channel, just thinking what would be the obvious answer would be Cathay, but I think there'll be too much of a challenge to paint for one video. I think might be Empire, but don't quote me on that. Something I've got to think. I'm just going to wake up one day and I'll be in the mood to paint a certain thing. It has to be a battalion that has a good mix of different miniatures. And I think the Cathay box has just too many basic infantry in. I like the dwarfs, to be honest. I like the idea of doing the dwarf army. But I think because I've done night goblins, I think it'll be good to do like a good, a good side, like a good faction. I think Bretonians would be the obvious one, but again, the problem is that it's like a starter box, isn't it? There's a lot of miniatures in the box, and it's like £200. And Bretonian miniatures are always out of stock. Myself personally, I think I want to do a Tomb King's army, but I don't think they're, especially with the new miniatures coming out, they might be good to do for the channel. I just think the miniatures for the Tomb Kings are too outdated. They're not exciting, but they're easy to paint. So it might be Tomb Kings, it might be Dwarfs, it might be Empire. High Elves as well, I really do like High Elves. I like the way they play in the game as well. There's a lot of choice. I think when I come to it, I'm just going to decide what army it is I want to personally have. And at the minute, it's kind of Tomb Kings. So I might treat myself to a Tomb Kings box for Christmas. And then paint it for a video. Having inherited a room full of Warhammer recently, I can safely say there's such a thing as too much Warhammer. It always feels so much better to paint it yourself. No, yeah, I absolutely agree. That's why I've kind of never gone in for buying people to paint stuff. I know you've inherited a lot of Thousand Suns stuff. I'm going to be doing more Thousand Suns stuff for the channel. So I want to do Magnus after the Lion. I'm going to do some Zangors as well. But if you do inherit stuff like that as well, I know what circumstances you got that stuff, but you can always sort of add your personal touches to these miniatures as well. Just to make them a little different is something I've done in the past. Where I've sort of bought stuff off someone, but I've sort of finished them how I would want to finish them. I think High Elves, to be fair, would be quite easy to paint. There's not actually as much white as you think there is. It's more silver with some white bits. But yeah, High Elves would be quite good. The problem is though, my friend's got a High Elf army and I don't want to repeat an army. Again, Bretonians would be fun to paint. I just don't like the black and red colour scheme they've got for them. I don't fancy painting different heraldry for all the different horses. I don't think Beastmen are exciting enough. And I'm not a big fan of a lot of the miniatures. I think they're very... I don't think they were very good when they came out, especially like the Minotaurs. If they had nice Minotaur miniatures, I probably would. I have thought about doing theme tutorials. Obviously you get the red gobbo every year at Christmas. The thing with stuff like that is it will definitely be more of an entertainment video. But a lot of these miniatures as well, they're limited edition. But I understand what you mean, just do like a themed miniature. I just like the practical idea of having a video that people can use. I have thought about that as well. So I am leaning towards the Tomb Kings box at the minute for a video because it's one of the main armies. They get new miniatures soon and a new journal. So I might treat myself to the army box at Christmas. I think that might be the and I'm massively into like my Egyptian ancient history stuff. So I think that's winning at the minute. And I want to paint the bone dragon, like the dragon. I think, yeah, in person, I think they're not going to look as bad as I think they are. Wood Elves, again, I think Wood Elves sort of suffer from the Cathay box, is that they're very too detailed. I would have to cover too much in one video, whereas Tomb Kings, you just show people how to paint the skeleton. Like you can, like with the Night Goblins, with very few you use the same stuff to paint the whole army. Whereas stuff like Bretonians or wood elves, there's lots of different units that you'd have to, there'd be more like a video for each unit, whereas I'm trying to pick something where I can do a whole video to paint an army. Yeah, I saw the Bone Dragon. I'm really, because it's a really nice centerpiece miniature, and that's new. Tippo, thank you very much for joining in the live stream. I hope you enjoyed yourself here. I think I'm about ready to go to bed as well. Next stream will be in a couple of weeks again on Sunday. I do like this 6:30 start because it's like 2.5 hours. I know I've been going 3 hours. What time is it? 9:30. I think it's the latest I've streamed. Yeah, I think I'm calling it. I'm gonna treat myself to the Tomb Kings box at Christmas. I'm gonna do that for a video. January. I've done it. Decided. Right, everybody, it's my bedtime. Thank you all very much for joining me for 3 hours. It's crazy that I can sit here and have a chat with you guys for 3 hours. I really enjoy doing this. Thank you all for the kind messages from everybody, and the joining the memberships and the super chats. It's really appreciated. Thank you. It means a lot. So again, next week will be the Blade Guard for Ultramarines. They'll be finished this week. Then I'll be working on Robute Gulliman as the first character in the character series for paid content. It won't necessarily be out the week after, but it will be out sometime next month. I'm really not sure. I think I'm leaning towards doing Custodes for the next Tabletop Ready video after the Blade Guard. I'm thinking I might do a combined video to do all 3 colour schemes rather than doing a video for each. But I think that'd be quite good because that needs an update, because I wouldn't paint the Custodes how I've painted them in those videos now. For a start, it uses the gloss version of Reichland Flesh Shade, which hasn't been available for a couple of years now, so it does need an update. And I think with Henry Cavill probably going to start coming out and talking about Warhammer again, I think Custodes are going to become quite popular again. So that makes sense. And something Tau related. But again, yeah, thank you very much. And anyone watching this on demand, not live, I'll be live streaming again in 2 weeks, probably the same time, 6:30 till 9 o'clock, 9:30. So hopefully you can join in the live streams. If you do, as you've seen, you can ask questions and stuff. I don't know what I'm going to be working on the next stream. I'm going to have Tor Garridan finished by then, that's the goal. And I don't know what I'll be working on. Maybe some Night Goblins. I need to get those contrasted up. So, thank you all again, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. See you later.